On August 31st, 1977, a police officer walked into a house in Enfield, North London, and watched a chair move across the floor by itself. She later filed an official statement saying she saw it happen, but she couldn't explain it. That moment turned a normal family home into the most documented paranormal cases in history. Hello friends, welcome to Whispers with Vanya, and of course, I'm Vanya. Today's story is about the creepy case of the Enfield Poltergeist from the famous Warren case files. And make sure to watch this video till the end and give it a like, please. And yeah, let's begin. Please, new viewers, take note that a poltergeist is basically a ghost that's very, very mischievous and likes to break a lot of stuff around the house. Likes to tamper with items around a certain house or any building structure whatsoever. So when I tell you this story, make sure you don't, seem confused. Yes, and what would you do if your child claims to be possessed by poltergeist? Located in Green Street, Enfield, North London, where the Hodgson family had just been trying to live a normal life, we have Peggy Hodgson, who was a divorced wife and a mother of 4 children, 2 girls, 2 boys, all between the ages of 13 years and 7 years. And the main character here we have is Janet, who is 11 years old, and the house in Enfield was a council house in the UK. I don't know what that means, but council house, yeah. Take note that the family had no previous records of mental health issues or even history of mental health issues or paranormal cases. They were pretty much very ordinary, but then things stopped being ordinary. In late August 1977, the family began hearing knocking outside the walls. Beds started shaking, furniture moved slightly on its own, and Peggy thought the kids were just playing tricks, but the activity just kept on going and it just became much worse. On August 31st, 1977, Peggy finally called the police to come investigate what was happening. A constable entered the house and witnessed a chair flying across the room on its own, and she was terrified. She later confirmed a report stating what she saw and confirming it, and that's when the case became real to the outside world. By September 1977, the activity had escalated dramatically. The furniture kept on moving on its own, toys were being flown everywhere, marble toys disappeared and appeared and just fell out of nowhere basically, and most of this activity centered around one person, Janet Hodgson, 11 years old. Now, Janet was reportedly seen levitating from her own bed and thrown from her own bed, apparently. Then came something even more disturbing. Janet apparently started talking in a very deep, raspy, older man voice. Like that. Voice claimed to be Billy Winkins, a man who died a few years ago in that house in Enfield. Voice reportedly spoke for long periods and left Janet very exhausted, and the doctors confirmed that her vocal cords were damaged because of the raspy voice, obviously. Where the case becomes the most documented case in history. 77, researchers from the Society for Physical Research began working on the case, and they spent months inside the house documenting everything. Audio recordings of the voice, photographs showing objects mid-air, witnesses' statements from neighbors and journalists and visitors, and British newspapers even camped outside the house, turning it into a national story. Still 1977, the world-renowned famous paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren made obviously their visit to the Enfield house, and they documented and stated that the case was highly disturbing, but they were still not the main investigators in this case. But they did show up, and they still made films and videos and everything of which you can still find But people still think that the family was not very, honest with the things that they were saying. And later, in later years, Janet Hodgson, now all grown up, admitted that some of the things that were happening were faked. And that's when the controversy comes in. But some experts still disagree. They say there's some things that happened when she was not in the room or even around, or she couldn't be smart enough to pull them, because again, she was just 11 years old at that time. So, you see, disturbances continued for nearly 2 years, between 1977 to around 1979, and then they just stopped. Like, no explanation, they just stopped for real. Janet Hodgson, now Janet Matthews, has talked about the case recently and say that there's something suspicious that happened. So she might have faked some of the things, but there's still some things that was still, yeah. And her mother, Penny Hodgson, passed away in 2003, RIP, and she never changed her story, until the day she died. And the house is still standing. By the way, it still has new tenants, people still move into the house, and no one has ever recorded any other weird activities after the family moved out. So now the question is, if the police saw it, if investigators recorded it, if multiple witnesses experienced it, what really happened inside the house? Is it true or fiction? Until we meet again, my friends.